All right, class, so I hope you're ready for us to start our English review for today. Don't forget you have a practice test on MobyMax, so once you're finished watching this video, go on there and take that practice test. It's 50 questions, but it shouldn't take you too long to do, okay? And again, the only thing that's not on there is articles, but we are going to go over articles right here, okay? So, let's first talk about the difference between adjectives and adverbs because I feel like some of us are struggling since they're both describing words. It can be a little confusing, but the difference is adjectives describe nouns and adverbs describe verbs. Remember, we said adverbs, part of the name is like they're adjectives that describe verbs, okay? And adjectives describe nouns, like I said. You have to remember these questions when looking at adjectives and these questions when you're looking at adverbs. So adjectives tell what kind and how many. They describe, meaning a number, a color, or some sort of description, like small, big, tall, short, tiny, things like that. Those are descriptions. And then adverbs tell how, when, or where. Remember, adverbs usually end in ly, but they also tell when and where. Okay? So let's look at some examples. Adjectives. Some people are fixing a road. Now, which word in this sentence is the adjective? Remember, adjectives tell us what kind and how many. So let's circle in this sentence what our adjective is. Some people are fixing a road. Well, let's find our noun. Because remember, adjectives describe nouns. So, road is a noun, but is there a description for road? Nope. Okay, people is a noun. What kind of people? I'm sorry, not what kind. What kind or how many people? There is a description for that. It tells us some people. Oh, you cannot see that, so let's circle it in black. Some people. Right? It tells us how many. Next one. They wear warm jackets. What's our noun? Well, they is talking about a type of people, right? But there's no description for they. It doesn't describe they. What about jackets? That's another noun. Do we have a description for jackets? Yes. Warm describes the jacket. Next one. The machine moves huge piles of dirt. So let's look at our nouns. We have machine. Do we have something describing the machine? No. The is a type of adjective, but it's a special adjective. It doesn't describe machine, okay? That we're going to talk about that later. So the would not be an adjective for that. Piles is a noun. Is there something that describes the piles? Yes. We have huge describes what kind of piles. What kind or how many, right? What kind of piles? Huge piles. We also have dirt as a noun, but dirt doesn't have anything describing it, okay? Now let's look at the adverbs. Yesterday, Sam was painting his room. Now, adverbs answer the question how, when, and where. So first we have to look for our verb. Yesterday Sam was painting. Painting is our verb. That's the action, right? Now we ask, how, when, or where did Sam paint? How did he paint? It doesn't say how he painted. Does it say where he painted? No, it doesn't say where. And when we say where, we don't mean like here, his room. No, we mean that's what he was painting. But we mean like a direction, right? But it doesn't tell us the direction. It tells us when. Yes, it does tell us when. He painted it yesterday. So yesterday is the adverb. Next one. The telephone rang loudly. How, when, or where? Let's look for the verb. Rang. Rang is the verb. Does it tell us how, when, or where it rang? It tells us how it rang, and it rang loudly. Remember, most adverbs end in ly. So if you see a word ending in ly, that's a clue. That might be the adverb. So you have to ask yourself, does that tell me how? And then you'll see if that's your answer. And the last example. The paint spilled everywhere. Let's look for the verb. The paint spilled everywhere. Spilled is the verb. Now we ask ourselves, how, when, or where did it spill? Well, everywhere. It's spelled everywhere. That tells us where it's spelled. Everywhere. Okay? So that is the difference between adjectives and adverbs. Now let's talk about comparing with adjectives. Okay? We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but it's something that you guys need to know. This is when we either add ER or EST. Now there are a couple differences of when we do them. So adjectives also show how people, places, or things are alike or different. That is what comparing means. Okay? So when do we use ER or EST at the end of the word? Add ER to most adjectives to compare two person, places, or things. So remember, ER is only for two things. And a way for you to remember that is ER is two letters, right? And EST is when you add EST to most adjectives to compare more than two person, places, or thing. And EST is more than two letters, right? It's three. So that's another clue. Just something, a way for you guys to remember, okay? So let's go back to here, add with ER. Let's look at the example sentence down here. Mars is a smaller planet than Jupiter. We use smaller because we're comparing Mars with Jupiter. So that's why it would be smaller and not smallest. Let's look at the example over here in EST. Pluto is the smallest planet of all. We would use smallest and not smaller because you're comparing Pluto with all the other planets. Okay, so Pluto is the smallest planet of all, not the smaller. Okay, so remember that little trick that I just showed you. ER is when you compare two person, places, or things, and EST is if it's more than two. Now we mentioned articles before. Now let's talk about the articles. Articles are special adjectives, special types of adjectives. And when we say articles, we're talking about a, an, and the. Okay? When do we use a, an, and the? Remember, there are special rules. A is used with singular nouns, and you use a before words that begin with a consonant sound. And is similar because you also use and with singular nouns, but it comes before words that begin with a vowel sound. Okay, so that's the big difference between a and and. A is used before words with consonant sounds, and is used before words with vowel sounds. And remember, vowels are A, E, I, O, and U. Okay? Every other word would be A in front of that word. And last we have the. The is used before both singular and plural nouns. So if you see a plural noun, you automatically know it's going to be the. But sometimes it can be the with a singular noun. So you have to really think about it. What makes more sense? And also remember the rules. Because if you have the choice between and the, and can only be used if the next word has a vowel sound. So that's another thing you need to pay attention to. Let's look at some examples. First sentence for between a and an. Each lesson lasted an hour. So we have a and, so we have to look at the word after it to decide which one we're going to use. A is used if the next word starts with a consonant sound, and an is used if the next word starts with a vowel sound. Well, let's look at our word, hour, hour. Hour starts with an H, but remember, we're looking at the sound. We're paying attention to the sound. So does hour have a consonant or a vowel sound? It has a vowel sound. Remember, vowel sounds are A, E, I, O, or U. And hour has the O sound. Okay? So each lesson lasted an hour would be the correct answer. Next one. Marta brought an sweater with her. So we have a and. Let's look at the next word. Does it start with a vowel or consonant sound? Starts with a consonant sound. Sweater. S is a consonant. So sweater, it would be a sweater. Now, we know that every single one of these nouns is going to be singular because we're talking about a and an. But don't forget, a and an go with singular nouns. The is for plural or singular nouns. So we're not asking if it's a plural or singular noun because if it's a or an, only singular. Lucky hears a and noise. Our noun is noise. Does noise start with a vowel or consonant sound? Well, n is a consonant sound. So that means which one is going to be our answer? A. Lucky hears a noise. And the last one. Mrs. Baker showed us an ugly photo. So our next word after our article choices would be ugly. Is ugly a vowel or a consonant sound? Well, A-E-I-O-U, U, that's the short U sound. So we know that our answer has to be an. Mrs. Baker showed us an ugly photo. Now let's look at the. Now remember, the is used for both singular or plural nouns. So now we have to pay attention if the noun in the sentence is singular or plural. Let's look at the first sentence. Soon it is time to edit the or apples or a apples. Now, what's our noun after our articles is apples. Is apples singular or plural? Apples is actually plural, more than one. That's why it ends in an S. So if it's plural, what does our article have to be? We know it cannot be a because a is only for singular nouns. So our answer is the. Soon it is time to eat the apples. Next one. The or an bloom takes place in spring. So what's our noun after our articles? It would be bloom. Now, bloom is a verb too, but in this sentence, we're talking about the bloom, like when the flowers do that. So it's the noun bloom, okay? Bloom takes place in spring. Is bloom singular or plural? It's actually singular. We're talking about a bloom that's going to take place. So it can be either the or an. So now we have to think. Does this start with a consonant or a vowel sound? Because and can only work if this is a vowel sound. Well, it's not a vowel sound, it's a consonant. B is a consonant, so the answer has to be the. So that's a case where it could be either one, except it can't because and has its special rule. If this was a, it could have worked, but then you have to decide which one sounds better, which one makes more sense in the sentence. Next one, last one. The or a red roses smell nice. What's our noun? Roses is our noun because red is not a noun. Red is an adjective. It describes the roses. So roses. Is roses singular or plural? It's plural. There's more than one. Roses. So because we know it's plural, we automatically know our answer has to be the. Okay? So that's your review for articles. Please, please, please study the rules right here. These pages will be on OneNote just for today, so you guys can use them to study, okay? And lastly, let's talk about to, and to. So these three words, to, and to, sound exactly alike, but are spelled differently and have different meanings, and that is called homophones. We talked about that in class before. So all three of these are homophones. But when do we use each of them? To, T-O, is used when you're talking about the direction of something. It can be literally the direction, like I'm going to the store, or like figuratively direction. So I'm talking to you. You know, my conversation is directed towards you. To, T-W-O, is talking about the number 2. And I wrote the number here just in case you don't remember what number 2 is. All right, so T-W-O, talking about 2. And T-O-O, remember the trick I told you, has 2 O's because we've had more than enough. It's a lot. Or you can also say also. So let's look at examples of these words, when to use them. The first sentence, I went to school. But which 2 are we talking about? A direction, a number, or also slash I've had more than enough? Well, we're talking about a direction that we're going to, which is school. So it would be to T-O. Next one. I ate 2 plums. Which 2 are we talking about? Well, we're talking about the number of plums that you ate, so it would be T-W-O, 2 plums. Next one. I ate too much. Are we talking about to a direction, to a number, or to also slash more than enough? We're talking about 2 that I had too much, more than enough. All right, I ate way too much. That means you got those two O's, too much. Next one. Marta has taken 2 lessons. Now, are we talking about 2, a direction, 2, the number, or 2 also, or more than enough? The answer is 2, the number. It's how many lessons that she has taken. She has taken 2 lessons. Next one. Today she rode to the barn. Which 2? Direction, number, also, or more than enough. Today she rode in direction to the barn, so it would be T-O. And the last one. Her writing teacher went to. Which 2? She went to the direction, to the number, or to also / more than enough. Her writing teacher went also. We can say also and it makes sense, so that means that our word would be to, T-O-O. All right? Well, guys, I hope that that review was good for you. I hope that the rules stick with you. Please practice, okay? Go on MobyMax and take that practice test to see if you're ready or not, okay? Your test is tomorrow. I feel like you guys are ready based off the work that I'm checking. A lot of you are understanding all of this. I see the most difficulty with adverbs, and I know that can be a little confusing, but all you need to remember is that adverbs are adjectives that describe verbs, okay? So you need to find the verb and find how, when, or where that verb took place, okay? Please remember that. Okay, so go ahead and do your review and be sure you finish all your assignments so that you're ready for your test tomorrow.